Hello, Dr. Fox here with a little set of thoughts about Chapter 7, Thinking and Intelligence, or Cognition, as we should call it. Um, okay, so thinking. Evidently, to think, you must have your hand against your chin. Um, I'm not sure if that's really true, but it's a big area. So you could be talking about perception, you could be talking about knowledge, problem solving, judgment, language, memory. Now, several of these get busted out into separate chapters. Perception, um, learning, we had a different chapter. Um, Problem solving is kind of properly the domain of this one. And then language, kind of developmental, and memory will have a chapter on that one. Okay, so this is kind of a computer model. And so thoughts go in through your forehead and come out the back of your head. No, but we have information and sensations that go in and inform what happens internally in this, your noggin is the technical term. Um, and these may cause emotions, they may elicit memories, they may cause memories, and there'll be thoughts, and those can loop back and influence your emotional states. And all this together, according to this model, is what generates our behaviors. Okay, so organization is a big thing about how we think. So concepts, so these are categories. Um, Mammals is a concept. So how do you look at the relationships between different things? Because there's so many things in the world. There's, literally trillions of things in the world. And so how do we organize this so that we don't have to think about each thing individually? So we tend to group things together. Could be complex and abstract, justice, freedom, could be concrete. What kind of dog is that? Is that a souffle or things like this. Generally, we will organize based on prototypes. So they propose that Gandhi is the prototype of civil disobedience. Um, think of a bird, okay? Really think of a bird. And probably if you're on Maui, you might think of, I don't know, um, could be a minor bird, you know? You could think of Evie, like floating high above. You're probably not thinking of a penguin because a penguin does not fit the prototype of birds have feathers. Penguins have something that is related to feathers, but they don't fly, so it violates the prototype. So we generally group things together by certain characteristics, more or less. Um, this book divides those into natural and artificial concepts. So natural concepts you experience, you come across them. We don't come across snow on Maui very often, but we do come across ocean, water of different types, trees. We are not seeing the same kind of trees you would in Oregon uh, because they don't really have like palm trees, but, you know, trees is a natural concept. Um, Shapes, kind of artificial, although there are things that have, that reflect certain shapes. And orange would be about the same shape as this, for instance, but we call this a sphere. Overall, these become what we call schema. So this is like a set of concepts that we relate to other things. So your schema of mammal would probably include fur, you know, puppy dog would be part of that schema. A role schema, there's a certain schema I'm supposed to fit into as an instructor. So, how am I supposed to behave in that role? Events, how are things supposed to go? What do you do when you sit in a classroom? Are you supposed to be like jamming out and dancing? Well, not in most classes. So you have scripts around what you're supposed to do. What are you supposed to do in church? And what kind of church is it? Is it a mosque? Is it a Catholic church? Are you supposed to like do something with holy water on your way in? Are you supposed to take off your shoes before you go in a Buddhist temple for sure? In a marae, if you're a Maori, or a lot of sacred spaces, you take off your shoes, you know? And so these schema are going to be followed when you do certain things. Now, I'm going to post a video of a really hilarious thing from an old show called Candid Camera that shows what happens when some things are violated about what are you supposed to do in an elevator? I think our usual is you turn around and face the door, right? What if somebody doesn't? Okay. So there are some schema that are automated, things you do automatically when you come home. Maybe you put your keys down next to the door. Maybe when you get up, you get a cup of coffee. I don't know. Your schema with the phone is generally you pick up your phone when you get a text, but you're not supposed to do that when you drive. In Hawaii, you get a ticket for that. It can be like $300-400. My goodness. But some people have a really hard time resisting looking at that text that came in. Okay, language is a pretty complex system. Now, we don't understand every language on the planet, but we know that languages follow some basic rules. And Noam Chomsky would say, this is because we are basically, language machines, language using machines. So there's the lexicon, which are the words. There's the grammar, which are a certain set of rules about how you put words together. And there have been some tests with like wild birds that show that they have certain grammatical structures and syntax. Phoneme is a small unit of sound. There can be a lot of them, and some of them are not ones that we necessarily use. Like morphemes are the smallest unit that can convey meaning. Could be oh, or it could be uh-oh. And language is constructed through how these all get put together. Semantics is about the meaning, how we derive meaning from those sounds that get put together. Or if we're reading, it's still reflecting, the linguistic sounds. And then syntax is how we put words into sentences that have some kind of thing that they convey. All right, so Chomsky, he says that language is a biologically determined and generated thing. It develops in the absence of formal instruction, although the wild boy of Aveyron did not develop language. We don't know, though, was he mentally disabled, intellectually challenged in some way? Was he on the autism spectrum in 1790 something? We didn't have that diagnosis. But we do know that language needs to develop in certain times of life. Early in life, we're much better at acquiring language. And we'll learn in our first 2 years hundreds of words already, like at least 150, 200 words in the first 2 years. And we can probably understand a lot more. That is a critical period. If you don't learn words, then you're probably going to have a problem. Jeannie, this case study, had been raised until 13 with basically no human contact. I guess they threw her some food, but no interaction, and she was unable to speak. She did acquire some vocabulary, but she had a really hard time with grammar. Okay, so 0 to 3 months, reflexive communication. This means just the baby is going to look at you or not look at you, maybe smile after a couple of months. And then 3 to 8 months, there will be some additional interest in what other people are doing. Is mommy smiling at me? Intentional communication, I want to play with this ball here. Look at this thing. I want to do this. And then somewhere around a year or so, maybe a little earlier, maybe a little later, first words, 18 to 24 months, simple sentences, but these are going to be telescoped. That means they're going to be collapsed into like go play or want food. It's not going to be a longer sentence yet. That's going to happen around 2 or 3 years old. Usually, some kids are more advanced, some it takes a while. And then complex sentences and conversations really are should happen by 3 to 5 years. If not, there might be something going on that needs help, treatment. Okay, problem solving is another big part of all of this. Trial and error is one way to solve things. You just keep trying different stuff. Algorithm is a step-by-step approach. I'm going to, well, we could look at shopping in a store. Are you going to go up and down every aisle until you find whatever you're looking for? Are you going to first look at the signs at the end of the aisles and see what's on that aisle, which sometimes is not correct, but that's another story. A heuristic is a general plan for doing something, like working backwards. You figure out what you want it to look like, and then you come up with steps to make that. Another heuristic that's really good, especially for papers, if you have to write one, is breaking something into smaller steps. And if you do that, you're going to come out with the right answer. An algorithm will lead you to the correct answer if you follow the formula. A heuristic should get you there. Depends. But people do use heuristics all the time, naturally. A lot of times, if there's just too much information, break it down. Or if you have to do something fast, you may tend to follow a heuristic you've used in the past, or you may tend to make the same decision you made last time you went to get ice cream. And especially if the decision is unimportant, you can kind of just give it a rest, just go with the easy answer. And if you have very little information, you might use a heuristic to make a decision about whatever it is. Okay, so trial and error. If you restart your phone, keep restarting it, maybe it'll come back. Algorithm step by step. So an instruction manual for installing software should be, or for building a barbecue grill, that would be a step-by-step solution offered to you. Heuristic is a general framework that we often just use kind of almost naturally without thinking about it. Okay, I do not do these, and I'm going to go on through them. This one is really interesting because there is a solution, and it will show an artificial constraint that we put on what we think should be the solution given these instructions. I'd like you to try to solve it. And I kind of flipped through there real fast. You could theoretically pause the video and back up. Mental set means you have a way that you look at something like, what is a pencil for? Writing, but somebody might say, I use a pencil to put my hair up. I don't have long hair anymore, so I couldn't do that. Or I usually have some smarty pants in the class who will say, you can use a pencil as a weapon. Yeah. So functional fixedness is not seeing those other possibilities. And there are a few fun things you can do to try those out. Like, for instance, the table, it's the two-string problem. You have to tie these together. This is not a very good representation of that, but you can look it up online, the two-string problem. Let's stop there for a moment.